Grumble, Mr. Grumble. Mr. Grumble. Mr. Grumble's name suited him well. Bah! He would grumble every morning when his alarm clock rang. It's the start of yet another horrible day. It was Mr. Grumble in bed. Bah! He would groan every afternoon on his walk in the country. I hate the countryside. One day, just after he had said this, someone suddenly appeared by magic. I'm going to close it. It was a wizard to whom Mr. Grumble had the nerve to say, "Bah! I hate wizards who suddenly appear by magic." Really? Said the wizard. Well, I don't like people who are constantly grumbling and moaning. I'll tell you what I do to people who have bad manners. I turn them into little pigs. And the wizard disappeared, leaving Mr. Grumble behind, leaving behind a very piggy-looking Mr. Grumble. Mr. Grumble was afraid that he might remain a pig for the rest of his life. Oh no. 5 minutes later, by magic of course, he changed back into his old self. He still had his cowboy hat on. He set off again and happened to pass little Miss Fun's house. "Come in," she cried, "I'm having a party!" Mr. Grumble went in, but when he heard little Miss Fun's guests singing and laughing, he scowled. What do you think he said? He said, "Bah!" he moaned. "I can't stand singing and laughing." You would have done better to have kept quiet because, what do you think happened? The wizard appeared once more. "I see that my first lesson wasn't enough," he said. "If I am going to teach you to stop grumbling, groaning, and moaning, I'll have to do more than turn you into a little pig. I'll have to turn you into a big pig." Mr. Grumble did not like it one bit. He had his cowboy hat on. Little Miss Fun and her guests, however, found it very funny. They're all laughing at him. "You're a big pig! Ah!" "Please," begged Mr. Grumble, "turn me back to normal. I promise that I will never grumble, groan, or moan ever again." And he feebly wiggled his curly tail. The wizard took pity on him and changed him back into his old self. And then the wizard disappeared again. Then little Miss Fun jumped onto a table and pretended to be a clown. Mr. Grumble was not amused. What do you think he said? "Bah!" he snorted. "I can't stand people who jump onto tables and pretend to be clowns." And guess what happened next? He turned into an enormous pig.
Oh my.
An enormous pig whose face was red with embarrassment. "Oink!" wailed Mr. Grumble mournfully. Then the enormous red-faced pig made a solemn promise. "Never again will I grumble, groan, or moan, or snort." "Good," said the wizard, suddenly appearing once again. And Mr. Grumble changed back into his old self. Well, not exactly his old self. Look at that smile on his face.
Oh. Aww.
Amazing, isn't it? Later, Mr. Grumble went home, and tired out after his exhausting day, he went straight to bed. He slept the whole night without once grumbling, groaning, moaning, or snorting. But not without snoring.
Aww. Want some breakfast? Benjamin? What did you think about that story?
Is that a good story? Yeah. You want to read that? You want some breakfast first, okay?
No, you could have breakfast while you read. I could feed you.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Bracelet's pretty.
Welcome to Miseryland. We say welcome, but there really isn't much welcoming about it. It's the most miserable place in the world. Miseryland worms look like this.
Aww.
And when the birds wake up in the morning in Miseryland, they don't start singing, they start crying. Oh, it's really an awful case. And the king of Miseryland is even worse. He sits on his throne all day with tears streaming down his face. Oh, I'm so unhappy, he keeps sobbing over and over again. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. His floor is like our kitchen floor, isn't it? Yeah. Little Miss Sunshine had been on vacation. She had a lovely time, and now she was driving home in her pink car. She was whistling happily to herself as she drove along when, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a sign. To Miseryland. Miseryland, she asked herself. I've never heard of that before. She headed down the road leading to Miseryland. She came to a sign that read, "You are now entering Miseryland." Smiling, laughing, chuckling, giggling. Forbidden. By order of the king.
No.
Forbidden.
Forbidden.
Oh dear, thought Little Miss Sunshine as she drove along. She came to a castle with a huge door. A soldier stopped her. "What do you want?" he asked gloomily. "I want to see the king," smiled Little Miss Sunshine. "You're under arrest," said the soldier. "But why?" asked Little Miss Sunshine. "For a very serious crime," replied the soldier. "Very serious indeed." The soldier marched Little Miss Sunshine through the huge door and across the courtyard, through another huge door, and up an enormous staircase, and along a long corridor, and through another huge door, and into a gigantic room. And at the end of that gigantic room sat the king, crying his eyes out.
What on earth?
Your Majesty, said the soldier, bowing low, "I have arrested this person for a very serious crime." The king stopped crying. "She smiled at me," said the soldier. It was a shocked silence. "She did what?" cried the king. "She smiled at me, sir," repeated the soldier. But why is smiling out loud?" laughed Little Miss Sunshine. "She laughed at me," cried the king. "Why not?" she chuckled. "She chuckled," wailed the king. Little Miss Sunshine giggled. "She giggled," blubbered the king. And he burst into tears again. "But why are all these things not allowed?" asked Little Miss Sunshine. "Because this is Miseryland," wept the king. "And they're never allowed," he sobbed. "Oh, I was so unhappy before you arrived," he wailed, "but now I am twice as unhappy." Little Miss Sunshine looked at him. "But wouldn't you like to be happy?" she asked. "Of course I would. But how can I be? This is Miseryland." Little Miss Sunshine thought. "Come on," she said. "You can't talk to me like that," sobbed the king. "Don't be silly," she replied, and led him across a gigantic room and through the huge door and along the long corridor and down the enormous staircase and through the huge door and across a courtyard and through the huge door to her car. "Get in," she said. And she said in. Little Miss Sunshine drove the crying king back to the large Miseryland sign. "Dry your eyes," she said, and handed him a large handkerchief from her purse. And then from her purse she pulled out a large pen. 5 minutes later she's finished. Instead of the sign reading, "You are now entering Miseryland," smiling, laughing, chuckling, giggling, forbidden by order of the king. Do you know what it read? "You are now entering Laughterland," smiling, chuckling, giggling. Permitted by order of the king.
Lefterland, that's nice.
There, said Little Miss Sunshine. Now you can be happy. But I don't know how to be happy, sniffed the king. I've never tried it.
No?
Nonsense, said Little Miss Sunshine. It's really very easy. The king tried to smile. Not bad, she said as she laughed. The king tried to laugh. Getting better, she chuckled. The king tried to chuckle. You've got it, she giggled. The king looked at her. So I have, he giggled. And I'm a king of Lefterland. As Little Miss Sunshine arrived home, there was Mr. Happy out for an evening stroll. You remember Mr. Happy?
Mr.
Hello,
Happy.
he grinned. Where have you been? Miseryland, she replied. Miseryland, he said. I didn't know there was such a place. Little Miss Sunshine giggled. Actually, she said, there isn't. Ah, isn't that a good book?
Let's give Daddy his stocking.
Well, okay, but just a minute. Daddy, turn off the camera.
Oh, okay.
Have some coffee.
You can sit over here then, where you